It is addictive, though, isn't it? In a very much a Jerry Springer kind of way.
Yeah, I had a guy talk to me for an hour about how he took the idea of cloud seeding and perfected it, and he had files with 100 million pieces of evidence, and but he didn't download it, and the link broke. So you just get all
Oh,
types of characters, man.
doggone it. Well, Blake, have you had any experience with UFO Twitter?
Twitter or X is a pretty strange place by nature. So I haven't had any experience with that particularly. I did have someone ask me once about, if I thought there was a place like that on the major platforms. I said, if there's a place for anything else, there's always a place for aliens.
Oh, you got that right. That's for sure. And King, actually recently, King was the host of some pretty historic spaces.
All Things Unexplained is free to watch on YouTube and listen to wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to support our show, you can visit our YouTube store. Additionally, you can find us on Venmo under All Things Unexplained. Be sure to check out our website, allthingsunexplained.com. All proceeds from the sales of Dr. Mounce's books on Amazon and Audible also go straight to our show.
I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucers.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's.
Did the CIA write Wind of Change by the Scorpions?
As humans busied themselves about the various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied.
Dr. Loeb, what percentage chance do you give it that you have indeed uncovered extraterrestrial or non-human technology?
With infinite complacence, people went about their affairs, yet across an immense ethereal gulf, intellects vast and unsympathetic drew their plans against us.
All of a sudden, a stick out of nowhere landed right in front of us, and there was no tree, nothing overhead. Something threw it at us.
Yeah.
All Things Unexplained.
So some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.
Okay, from Hector Sanchez, what is the strongest proof that the alien mummies are legit?
I said when you look at it all together, in order to make these mummies, you would have to find bones that are, a certain density. They're not the same density as human. They're less dense. You would have to find certain bones that we don't see in nature, like the small ones. Their rib cages, they're like fully circled around. They're not like ours, and they have different number of ribs. It's not uniform. Like one can have 8 ribs, the other one has 11. Then you have to think about how would you strip these bones to add this muscle, soft tissue, joints, cartilage. You got to get all this stuff to stick together. Then you got to get a skin to go over all of this. And it's a reptile skin. It's not even like a human skin. You have to get some type of skin to go over this and not have seams, sutures, or any of that anywhere on it. And don't forget nails. And on top of that, it's like when you look at it completely, in order to make we might be able to bring back a person from the dead if we had the technology to make this good of a fake.
And I do want to encourage people, before I go on the next question, jump on Twitter, X, okay? Find a UFO Twitter space. Find one either with King Wakata in it or hosted by King Wakata, and plant yourself, because you might be in there for 11 hours. But you're going to hear some good stuff, okay? And you're going to hear some good, deep, probing conversation on this topic. We won't get into the 11-hour space right now, but King knows what I'm talking about. And King, I've heard you talk about this next listener question that Smitty's going to bring to you quite a bit. So here we go.
But Miles Rifkin asked, do you know if the Mexican/Peruvian governments will release the mummies to the United States for examination?
Fingers crossed on this side. But yeah, the situation, like I said, it seems to be a lot of egos involved. I would say if you're here in the USA and you really want to try to do something and not just stand, I would say what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start reaching out to the United States ambassador for Peru and try to reach out to them and try to see if, even by email, I can be like, hey, do you have a position on the mummies? Can you try to talk to your counterparts to see if we can get something going? We have a good doctor, Dr. John McDowell, and he has two other doctors. God, I'm mad that I can't remember their name right now, but both of these guys have worked for the DOD and State Department on different contracts for they're like a forensic ontologist or pathologist and stuff like that. So these ain't people to sneeze at. And yeah, I think I hope they let the United States examine them. We need it.
Indeed. And let's see here. This one is for Blake. So Blake, I think it's CJ's turn to take one. This is a great question for Blake. I hope he's ready for this.
Alien Fan 89. Out of all the things you've accomplished in multiple genres, Blake, what do you consider to be your greatest accomplishment?
That's a good question. That is a very good question. Whoever that is, Alien Fan 89, you come prepared, and I don't like it. No, no. I'm all joking aside. That's a very good question. Out of all the things I've accomplished, I think the greatest accomplishment specifically came in 2016 when I was inducted into the Hall of Fame with John Carpenter and Lon Chaney's family for the first 3 books I put out. That was the biggest accomplishment that I could have ever asked for. To be mentioned in the same sentences as those incredible people, those incredible geniuses and artists, people with a real vision and a way to execute it. I think that's the biggest compliment I could have ever gotten. As far as musically, I think getting on stage and playing with Five Finger Death Punch and Trust Company was a pretty awesome musical experience, getting to live that life. And then, of course, making movies. I love doing that. But picking up props, I think the coolest thing I've ever done was pick up those spring news props from Nightmare on Elm Street, as far as a collector, point of view is concerned. But that's a good question. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Well, I have to tell you, Blake, Brandon Fugel would be jealous of some of your Nightmare on Elm Street props. So we had Brandon Fugel on with us. What was it, last week, CJ?
Mhm.
And before the season 5 premiere of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, and a listener asked him, about his private collection. He has a private collection that you might not expect, and among the things in his private collection is one of the Chuckies. I'm pretty sure the original Chucky, and the box from Hellraiser.
The Lament configuration.
The
yes.
Lament configuration is owned by Brandon Fugel. I mean,
And the Bible from Shawshank Redemption.
Yes.
Very cool. One of the best
Yeah.
movies of the 90s. I dare say of all time.
Oh, yeah.
So
And
we're
by
actually
Stephen
waiting on
King.
any day now for our invitation to Skinwalker Ranch. So I think Blake and King should come along with us if we get invited. And that would be pretty fun. Blake, you'll have to bring along some of your props. I think that Brandon would be all about that.
Oh, I'm
So that's our
sure. I don't
ticket
know. He's
in.
got some cool stuff. I don't know if those Freddy gloves I have and the prosthetics to match up to the Lament configuration and the Chucky. Oh, I don't know. That'd be fun though.
Might not be a good idea to take those on the ranch, though, because apparently the ranch reacts to whatever kind of vibe you bring on there. So I don't know. We might want to find a different prop, like maybe Gandalf's cane or something to take on there. I'm just wondering. So we have one more listener question, and this one is going to be for King. I feel like, and before I'll just put it up there.
X-Files 102 says, King, have there been any of these mummies found anywhere else in the world? We focused solely on those. I think they're asking on another continent.
That we know of, no. We don't. We haven't found anything like this anywhere. But we do have indications of places that we might be able to start looking. According to the skin, they don't sweat, so they might live in very hot and dry climates. So if there's any would-be archaeologists out there, start looking for dry climates and high places, and apparently that's where these things like to be at.
Well, we've had a former guest on the show that I think is in a perfect situation to look for more of these types of relics, and that is Noah Stricker. CJ will remember Noah. He's the Michael Jordan of
Yes, the
birding.
birding guy. Yeah, he
You
was
might
so great.
you might wonder, what does the Michael Jordan of birding know about aliens? But he spends most of his time in Antarctica. And I'm going to tell you, I think there's some truths to be discovered in Antarctica. I mean, you're talking about an ice sheet hundreds of feet or more thick. And who knows? Who knows what's under there? And then we have these stories, of admirals going down there in the 50s or before and getting swallowed up into strange portals to other realms. I mean, we got some major stuff on in Antarctica, I think.
I
Well,
think my favorite transition that's ever happened on this show is look in hot, dry places, and you say, about that, Antarctica.
Hey, I mean, I'm just saying, different species. I'm not going to say we're going to find the cake mummies down there, but maybe something else.
has anybody else thought of this? When I started researching these mummies, about the Easter Island carvings. I mean, they have very similar look about them, and I thought that was awful strange because they're coming from, South America and that area. So.
Yeah, well, I know that in Japan they have these little carvings, old school little carvings of different, humanoid type things. And when you look at them, they are very similar to what you see with the Nazca mummies. Like, you can put the art of the Nazca people and compare it to the art of these ancient Japanese people. And man, are they close. But like I said, they have allegedly 7 different species. So there might be something that can survive in the cold and is made for that over there. What the hell would it be doing in Peru? I don't know. But
speaking of the cold, we should do hot takes.
That is a perfect seg if I ever heard one, right into hot takes. And we've got just a few hot takes, and I want to bring up the first hot take, and it's going to be for you, King. We've had a lot of people on this show, guests who are at special places in this world, and they're very sensitive to the cultural and the native people's connection to ancient relics or relics that are very special to them. Has anybody given any thought, I wonder, to the possibility of these alien mummies, having special social or cultural significance to anyone?
yes, and the thing is, I don't think anybody's fighting to like take them out. I think they're fighting to just have them acknowledged and have the same procedures you would do to any archaeological find. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what a lot of people are fighting for. Like, yo, just look, just test them and let's see what they are. But like I said, you got Mario, who's not very loved by the people in power, the government of Peru. He's from the same culture, so I'm pretty sure if he came to Jamin about it, he could have sold them for millions of dollars. The word is he sold a couple, but he brought the rest to Jamin. So it's a hard situation to look, because this thing could potentially change the history of the world and the culture of the world. So at minimum, if you don't want to take them out of the country, you gotta at least let the world come see them and study them.
That's a great answer. Now I think it is time for our hot takes. And by the way, did you know you listening to this could sponsor our hot take segment? Our old sponsor is not with us any longer. We love coffee. I'm just saying, you could sponsor our hot take segment. So here's our first hot take for King. And I know you're going to have something to say, but just be careful. What's your hot take on UFO Twitter?
Oh, baby.
Remember, careful.
Order out of chaos.
Oh.
There is plenty of chaos, and the inner anarchist in me enjoys it. But you just kind of gotta let these things play out. Let everybody do all their screaming. They'll get tired, and then we'll get some order out of that. And some people are just some people don't want to kumbaya. They want to have a little pizzazz in it. and you're always gonna have those people, and we just got to learn how to work around or with them people accordingly.
Right. It is addictive, though, isn't it? In a very much a Jerry Springer kind of way.
Yeah, I had a guy talk to me for an hour about how he took the idea of cloud seeding and perfected it, and he had files with 100 million pieces of evidence, but he didn't download it, and the link broke. So you just get all types of characters, man.
Doggone it. Blake, have you had any experience with UFO Twitter?
Twitter or X is a pretty strange place by nature. So I haven't had any experience with that particularly. I did have someone ask me once about, if I thought there was a place like that on the major platforms. I said, if there's a place for anything else, there's always a place for aliens.
Oh, you got that right. That's for sure. And King, actually recently, King was the host of some pretty historic spaces. And that takes us into our next hot take. King, what's your thoughts on the UFO Twitter, UFO whistleblowers?
Uh-huh.
And by the way, you might want to give everybody some quick background on that, because I don't think anybody else here is exactly sure what I'm talking about.
Okay, so what was it now? 3 weeks ago, right? More or less.
Yeah.
We had a couple. We had Jason Sands. He came out, and before he came out, there was a couple guys that were associated with them, and I actually got to speak with them first. Now, me being the skeptic I was already, like you said, on a 11 hour, 12-hour stream. So they caught me at the back end. I was very tired, and I was just like, dudes, I don't believe y'all. He started coming in telling the story, and the other guy, and I was already gonna cut the stream. So I was like, I don't believe you. I'm not trying to hear it. Turns out they were telling the truth, so I had to come out and do an apology. But Jason Sands and the UFO whistleblowers, man, I'm happy that he did it that way, and it sort of low-key started a lot of this chaos that we're seeing right now. And I'm a bit happy with it because it showed that not a lot of people can do a lot of their own thinking. Because there was a lot of people looking towards Corbell or a lot of these key guys to see what they were going to say about the guy before they could even come out with their own opinion. And I don't like that. If you want to do critical thinking, look at the man's story, ask questions, and then come up with your own idea. And I feel with Mr. Sands, what they got to do is separate what he's saying. He's giving you his experience. That's what everybody has heard about, the blue aliens and stuff like that. But then he also had a job function that allowed him to get close to this program and understand what was going inside of it. So I think the most valuable information we can get is about his job function and how he was able to find this program. The experience and all that, a lot of people are interested, but that can come down the line when we get disclosure. I want to concentrate on his job function and those type of things that we can really sink our teeth into.
Right. Thanks so much for everybody for being with us tonight. We're joined by King Wakata and Blake Best. I said it real fast again. And we're so proud they're here. And if you want to support the show, we've got Super Chat and Super Stickers available. And our YouTube store is now live, or you can visit BigfootUFO.com. CJ Derringer's here with us tonight. Smitty Neves is back tonight. And this is King's first time on the show. Blake, he's returning for about the 27th time. I think I've got that approximately correct. And, I've got one more hot take here, and I got to get into this. We got so many people tuned in right now. We're in the triple digits. And
Can I just ask our listeners to comment about the Jason Sands things? If you're listening and you know this Jason Sands story, do you think real or fake? Send us a comment. I want to know. Okay, continue.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, Jason Sands, that's one of the epic things that comes out of Twitter Spaces, right? Things you won't get anywhere else, and you get them before anybody else. So David Grush, everybody's heard of him, right? UFO whistleblower. Jason Sands came out, UFO whistleblower, revealing, mind-blowing secrets for 11 hours and with King Wakata, for example. So this is the kind of stuff that can only happen, folks, on UFO Twitter. It has a lot of potential for harm and for drama and negative things, but a lot of potential for epicness. Yes, sir, King.
I I didn't host a space where Jason Sands came in. I was in a previous space. Jason Sands came out with Rob Woods, I believe.
That's right. And I actually want to give a shout out because I think UFO Intros was involved too. And UFO Intros is a friend of the show, and UFO Intros pops in here quite a bit. They haven't said anything, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're watching us. Just shout out to UFO Intros. And I know that they were intimately involved with the UFO whistleblowers too. But folks, our last hot take for tonight, and I think our listeners and viewers are going to really appreciate this. We haven't talked about this in a while. Las Vegas backyard aliens are back in the news.
Are they? How did I miss this?
They are, because you don't watch the news.
Oh.
I'm kidding.
Did they hit the jackpot?
And I'm not on Twitter, and I don't do
Because you
anything.
ignored the text that I sent you about this story. That's why you didn't know. But yeah, they're back in the news because this is mind-blowing, y'all. You have got to see this little clip I've got to play, because they have got a forensic expert to analyze the video. And I was always fascinated by the backyard alien story in Las Vegas, because it had it was like the alien mummies. It has so many moving pieces, because it wasn't just the dudes in the backyard, but it was also the police with the weird body camera footage, right? And the thing streaking through the sky, and the 911 call. I mean, you know what? That's illegal, by the way. You can't fake something and call 911 and get the police to come out. That's illegal. And so that was never believable anyway. These guys, you could sense the real emotion in them. You could hear it in the 911 call. But this guy, he gives an analysis of the film. I think it's fascinating. Let's check it out. I'll pull it up here. So this is from a forensic expert. There it is.
And look at whether or not there is an artificial artifact added to it or not. And in this case, we can definitively say, to a degree of scientific certainty, that this entity, this thing in the video, is there in the physical reality in which the Kenmore family is also there. Like, this is so critical, because you can clearly see through the slots in the fence that there is a leg motion moving from the right to the left side of the screen. And clearly it is behind there. So this isn't just like a head floating in space. This is a head of that is somehow that does not have full opacity, that the opacity of the head of the shadow is only at about 33% opacity, versus a normal shadow, which would be at 100% opacity, or an object in the screen, which is at 100%. And this isn't anything that you did. It's just what you were able to determine, that this shadow being, or this being in the shadows, possibly creating its own shadow or smoky filter or cloaking technique, is not only cloaking itself from the people there, but cloaking itself from the camera itself, in that it's minimizing our ability to identify pixels inside of that shadow.
Nation, I've got so many thoughts, but I'm going to throw it to King first. What do you think?
I was one of those people that was thinking this might have been some type of psyop, because when it came out and became this thing caught fire like across the US in like less than 24 hours. And it was literally right before Grush and Dr. Greer did their presentations and stuff. So I always looked at this as like, oh, that's a curious timing to get everybody's attention away from what's going on over here. So that's the way I always looked at it. I mean, this right here, I haven't been keeping up with it, so I have to sit down and look at it, because that is strange. And, cloaking mechanisms is not something that is new here, or is like out of the pale that we've heard dealing with these things. This is pretty much normal for them, like we know they can cloak and things.
Yeah. I mean, it just makes a lot of sense. Blake, what do you make of this?
Well, I like to say that sometimes the best place to hide is in plain sight. And As far as the cloaking thing is concerned, that I believe Joe mentioned it earlier in the comments. You know, speaking about cloaking things, and there's always been this consistent argument about things disappearing, the coincidences of Bigfoot being there and then Bigfoot not being there, something as large and lumbering and massive as that creature to be able to disappear at will. And then I actually had my own theories about a certain historical event, Roanoke, the disappearance of the Roanoke colony in the 1500s. I believe very much so that they may have been cloaked and taken away because they came to the New World and settled. And I think it goes with Nazca, Peru, that these aliens that we're finding the mummies of were brought there as surveyors, perhaps to take in the landscape and the terrain and see if it was going to be an applicable place for them to settle down in their travels. And perhaps they stayed to kind of formulate, theories and study the landscape, and then they died there. And those remains we found are the ones that were the surveyors that, because of the nature of their extraterrestrial biology, they didn't rot, or decompose, for lack of a better word. So honestly, with that footage, I could tell you I've been inside some places that were purported to be haunted, and I've seen shadow figures before, and I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. If a ghostly presence can pass through a wall or filing cabinet or a morgue table like I saw them do at Waverly Hills Sanatorium, then it's very, very easy for me to believe they could do that through a picket fence. Very easy.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think that is good footage, and I think that footage, I mean, obviously, is caught fire, for lack of a better word, across the world, and it's kind of taking the world by storm. But it goes back to what I said before. We knew they were here. It's the fact that others were trying to say they weren't is where the problem is. The truth is out there. I mean, to paraphrase, Chris Carter, and I really believe that there's a little bit of Fox Mulder in all of us, a little bit of Dana Scully in all of us, maybe a little bit of the Smoking Man in all of us too. We want to cover up what we believe because we want to protect our ideas and protect that we believe that there's something strange out there. So, and I think it's out of fear. And I think fear is one of the biggest controllers in society. You can't be afraid to share things like that. Open up, be a whistleblower, tell the truth, because the truth will stand when the world's on fire. And it may not be a truth that people like, but it's truth nonetheless. There's far too many lies out there anyway. So I thought it doesn't benefit these people to lie about this in any way, shape, or form.
That's right. They want us to obey, shop, get 8 hours sleep, wake up, go to work.
I would love to get 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah, same here.
Hey, that's what the
I'm
government.
going to obey.
The government wants you to do that, CJ. I promise you. Smitty, you know about the Las Vegas backyard aliens. What do you make of this forensic expert's analysis?
Pretty impressive, because this is also, like I said, they're airing this before the whole world. This is a person who's an expert in their field. It gives it a lot of validity, it seems, because at first, they thought it was a hoax, but with this going on, really, these people don't have a whole lot to gain by doing this. As we've talked about before in the past with every guest we've ever had that's experienced something, most of them didn't want to tell anyone because of fear of being labeled crazy or insane or something to that effect. So this seems to lend some validity to this incident.
Yeah, before I toss over to CJ for her thoughts, because she loves the Las Vegas backyard alien story, I have to say, y'all, how many times have we heard about Bigfoots with cloaking ability? About aliens, or not about aliens, but we've heard from astrophysicists on this show who tell us that UFOs seem to be able to cloak themselves, to manipulate matter around them so that they are more difficult to film and to photograph and to see. This just lines up with so many things we've heard on the show. It just blew me away. CJ, what's your thoughts on it? And then you're going to take us out, I think.
Sure. Yeah, I struggle with this one because I do love this Las Vegas alien backyard story, mostly because of the humanness in it all. I love connecting with people. I feel like it's one of my gifts is to understand people and what they're going through. And I tend to help a lot of people. And when I heard this boy in that 911 call, and then also heard the police officers and their reactions to the fireball that they saw in the sky and coming to this house, it all felt very, very believable to me. That was my initial instinct. I also was in a time of discovery in the UFO world where I was trending towards believing everything that I heard. I think I came into it as a total skeptic, didn't believe any of it was real. And then the pendulum swung to the other direction and I thought everything was real. And so now I'm sort of back in the middle, trying to weigh the balances. I still give a lot of validity to that story, mostly because of the family, mostly because of what their life seems to look like just from video and what have you, and maybe a couple of generations living together in one household. I'm not sure that they are the type that would want to draw attention to themselves for this sort of incident. So for that reason, I do give validity to this story. Now, as far as this new video, I couldn't tell you what the heck we were just looking at. I don't know what they were trying to show me. In terms of the forensics and the things, the colors on the screen, I was lost. So I don't know.
Just
Science,
one thing.
Science.
This proves the theory
Science.
wrong that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That
Yeah.
proves that theory completely wrong.
I mean, we're pretty close to having cloaking devices too, so I don't think that we're too far fetched.
Absolutely, they've been cloaking our stealth bombers for years.
And CJ's from Palmdale, so she would know. I thought you were going to break into the song, CJ.
Palmdale, come back to me. I need you and I love you, baby. Afro Man, anyone? No one? Okay. Forget it.
We do have to encourage everybody, if they haven't seen one of Afro Man's latest videos about the pineapple cake, you got to check it out, folks. It's based on a true story. The cops kicked down his door, and one of the detectives is like checking out his mom's pineapple cake on the counter. Have you heard? King knows the story, I guess.
Shout out to Afro Man.
Afro Man made a song in a video.
I remember it when you start talking about it. Yeah, I remember.
It's fantastic. The video is just great.
Yeah.
So
good.
I think CJ's got us heading into our conclusion.
I think we've
tonight.
officially lost track, so it's probably time to call it a night, huh?
Well, when Afro Man comes up,
yeah, it's time.
It's either time to stay longer or time to call it. I don't know.
There's only two ways to go when Afro Man comes up. All right. Well, a special thank you to our guests, Blake Best. Always a pleasure. Do go check out his music, his books, all of the wonderful things that he is working on. And to King Wakata for sharing all of your information with us, for getting the conversation going on X, for keeping it going, for keeping all of our minds open. We thank you for that and for giving us your expertise on this very interesting subject. To Smitty and Tim, thanks for keeping me up late on a weeknight. I love it so much.
No problem.
And for those that shared your comments and questions with us, we are eternally grateful to you. Please do like, subscribe, share, comment, tell all of your friends. Join us in all of our future conversations because we love having you. Tim.
Folks, tonight we've been on a global journey in search of alien mummies. That's right.
I think we just went to Peru and maybe Antarctica once.
No, Mexico, Peru, California. It's been a
Las
global
Vegas,
journey.
don't forget
Las
that.
Vegas. That's right. We went to Las Vegas. It's been a journey to many places around the world. But you know what? You don't have to go out there and travel the world to find the secrets of the universe. Just like Blake said, the truth is still out there. We totally believe that. That's one of our goals here at the show, is to get at the truth. We're not telling anybody where it's at. We're just here to present the information and get after it our own selves. So we want to encourage everybody, hey, you can be a part of getting after the truth yourselves. It might not be to find alien mummies, but you can get out in the woods. You can hunt for Bigfoot. You can get off your devices. You can go out tonight and look up at the sky and see what you can see. You can collect data on your own. The skies are not classified. That's what Avi Loeb told us. And you know what? If you go out, you get in the woods on your own, you go outside and you look up at the sky, you might not find a Bigfoot, you might not find an alien or see a UFO, but you might find something even more important, and that is yourself. Thanks, everybody. Smitty?
Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us, and thanks to all our listeners. And we're glad to have you at the All Things Unexplained universe tonight. And be happy, be strange, listen to All Things Unexplained. Good night.
And we do not condone hunting Bigfoot. Just that's what he meant. Look for Bigfoot.
Just observe, folks. Thanks, everybody.
All Things Unexplained.
What's your hot take on Travis Taylor?
I've got an exclusive for you guys if you want it about the Alaska.
We do.
Okay.
Dr. Taylor was revealed to be the chief scientist of the UAP task force with the Pentagon.
So some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.
All Things Unexplained is free to watch on YouTube and listen to wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to support our show, you can visit our YouTube store. Additionally, you can find us on Venmo under All Things Unexplained. Be sure to check out our website, allthingsunexplained.com. All proceeds from the sales of Dr. Mounce's books on Amazon and Audible also go straight to our show.